I've replayed that morning in my mind more times than I can count, wondering if silence would have been easier. But some moments don't loosen their hold. They stay with you, asking to be remembered. I turned a little, enough to really see him. His eyes lifted to mine, uncertain, searching, but didn't stay there long. I placed my hand near his again, close enough for the warmth to bridge the space between us. I didn't speak. I didn't rush. If you've ever stood inside one of those moments suspended between two heartbeats, you already know what follows. The porch planks were cool under my bare feet when I stepped out, balancing my coffee with both hands. Dawn had only just broken, the light soft and pale gold, touching the grass and fence with gentle warmth. A breeze slipped through the still air, light enough to stir the hem of my robe, half warm, half chill, the kind of air that only belongs to early morning. I exhaled slowly. The steam rose in delicate spirals, catching the sunlight as it climbed. The fabric around me was soft, familiar, brushing my wrists when I shifted the cup. I took a sip, small, deliberate, the kind that rests on your tongue before you swallow. It was simple, grounding, like a quiet promise to myself before the day began. I closed my eyes for a heartbeat, just listening to the silence breathe. That's when the doorbell rang. Not loud, but sharp enough to ripple through the stillness. I turned toward the house, frowning slightly. By the time I opened the door, he was already on the steps, halfway turned as if he hadn't meant to be caught. The sound of the door stopped him. He turned back, straightening slightly. He was tall, broad at the shoulders, but carried himself carefully, like he wasn't sure how much space he was allowed. His uniform hung a bit loose, the fabric creased in places, as if it had lived another life before him. Our eyes met briefly, long enough for something to pass between us, but he looked away almost instantly. "For me?" I asked, nodding toward the box in his hands. He gave a small nod and took a cautious step forward. "Said it was important," he murmured, voice low, almost hesitant, as though words might disturb the air between us. I reached out and took the package, letting my fingers brush his just slightly, long enough to notice, short enough to pretend it didn't mean anything. He didn't step back right away. Just stood there, still, with a look I couldn't quite name. The door behind me stayed ajar, open just enough. The quiet pressed in. He noticed. His eyes lifted again, uncertain, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to stay. "You look like that delivery surprised you," I said softly, letting a small smile curve my lips. It wasn't teasing, not really, just light enough to ease the moment. Then I turned and walked inside. I didn't close the door. Didn't have to. The sound of my steps followed me, soft, steady, the kind that feel like part of a house you know by heart. The air shifted slightly behind me, still and waiting. Then I heard it, the door easing shut with a quiet click. I set the box down on the narrow table by the wall, my cup still warm in my hand. Slowly, I turned. He was still there. Still inside. His posture stiff but not defensive, his eyes tracking me like he was trying to understand what this had turned into. I didn't fill the silence. I let it breathe between us, the kind of silence that makes you aware of every small sound, every shared breath. "You can leave it there," I said softly, nodding toward the table. My tone was calm, almost casual, as though we were still pretending this was about the delivery. He hesitated, then stepped forward and rested the box against the wall. The latch gave one last quiet sound, final and sure, as he eased the door into place. The air seemed to shift again, sealing us inside that small pocket of stillness. I moved slightly to the side, leaving space, an invitation without words. He took it, crossing the distance between us slowly, not with the awkwardness of a stranger, but with the kind of restraint that belongs to someone already aware they've crossed the line they can't uncross. When he stopped in front of me, I glanced down. His hand was close to mine, fingers twitching as if caught between wanting and waiting. So I reached first. Our hands brushed, warm, unsteady, real. He swallowed hard, the movement visible in his throat. The air between us thickened. I could hear both our breaths now, soft and deliberate. I turned my hand, sliding my fingers under his. "It's all right," I whispered. "You don't have to be nervous." His hand flexed, slow and uncertain at first. Then his fingers curled around mine, tentative but steady. He didn't pull, didn't push. Just stayed there, holding the space between us like it mattered. He looked at me then, really looked, and something in his gaze changed. I could feel the warmth of him, even before his body moved closer. I shifted, facing him fully. His eyes lifted to mine again, still unsure, still searching for permission he didn't need. I placed my hand beside his once more, a silent reassurance. That small gesture seemed to quiet something inside him. He stepped in closer. Not touching yet, but near enough that I could feel the air move between us. His shoulder hovered just beside mine. His lips parted, maybe to speak, but no words came. A current ran through me, a flicker of anticipation, light but impossible to ignore. The edge of my robe slipped slightly from my shoulder. I saw his gaze flick toward it, then back to my face, almost guilty. I gave a subtle nod, barely there, but enough. It told him I wasn't afraid. That I was still here. He lifted his hand, tracing a line up my arm. The fabric whispered under his touch, and his fingers trembled faintly. His movement was reverent, careful, like each inch carried its own kind of question. I inhaled softly, let the breath catch, then exhaled slow. The faint breeze from the hall brushed against my skin where the robe had fallen. He didn't pull away. His hand came to rest at my side, light, respectful, but undeniably present. "It's okay," I murmured. "You're here." He nodded, the motion almost invisible, his gaze steady now. I lifted my hand and placed it over his, guiding it where it felt right. My other hand rose instinctively, resting against his shoulder as I leaned in. When our lips met, it was quiet, deliberate, patient, the kind of kiss that knows better than to rush. Warmth spread between us, laced with the faint taste of coffee and morning air. His hand stayed gentle, resting against my sides. Not grasping, just holding. When we parted, the space between us felt changed, charged and real. I took a slow step back until I felt the table behind me. My palms pressed lightly against its edge, grounding me in the moment. His touch stayed steady. Mine did too. I stayed still, memorizing the shape of it, the air, the quiet, the warmth between us, and realized neither of us was ready to let go.